Hello, everyone. Richard Carlton here. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. We are once again have an action-packed FileMaker release from Claris Corporation. We've been coordinating with them, working with them to bring you great content, great training. We are in week 2 of 4 weeks of intensive workups on the Claris FileMaker platform for 2025, also called version 22. If you see the word 2025, that's marketing terms for the version of the product, which is called FileMaker 22. The 22. So with that in mind, I want to remind everyone that today was the last of the 4 days where Claris Live, Community Live was running. And at 8 o'clock this morning, there was a great live stream with Vince Mennano, Rick Kalman, Maeckel. And today, at this time slot right now, all of you, this is the second half of that conversation. And all of your questions are up to bat, are fair game. If you want to know if Rick Kalman is single and available and looking for love, all that is a possibility. You can ask that question. Margaret will triage the questions and pass them on as necessary. We have there's a powerhouse of people here today, very smart people. I am by far the least brilliant person here, so I'm going to be very quiet after I get this going, or I will attempt to be quiet. Anyway, but this morning's conversation, it's been recorded. But we're going to do a recap real quick, and then Margaret is going to kind of run us through the Q&A. And the next 3 days, Claris Engineering is coming to the show. It's already like today's a deep dive. It's even deeper the next 3 days. It's super deep. It's engineering deep. Only engineers are going to be there. It's going to be awesome. So if you have deep technical questions about the Claris FileMaker platform, they're going to be going full deep. Margaret, we have any upfront things we want to do, or do we want to just ask Vince to do kind of a recap for us?
I think we want to do the recap so everyone gets on the same page. So,
all right. So Vince and Rick, you guys want to do kind of a quick recap for us?
Yeah, before Vince goes, let me do a real high level to let you know what took place. So as Rich said, this was the last in the series of 4 that we did to roll out the FileMaker 2025 launch. The first 2 were covering AI with Ronnie, Wim, and Todd. Both the new script steps and functions in the products, as well as the AI services in server. And then Robert and Clay yesterday, we're talking about the broader Claris platform and integrations between Studio and FileMaker. And then today was everything else that we did beyond those things. So just at a very high level, if you look at the release notes for the FileMaker products, there are over 120 enhancements we have made. Obviously, we couldn't cover them all, but we did cover some of the high-level ones, and well over 100 customer issues that were addressed. So I really encourage you to go in there and look at that. And then we began to look at some of the key enhancements that we made. On FileMaker Pro, we talked about the ability to collapse scripts now, sort of code folding, if you will. The fact that you can put custom functions in folders now, some nice enhancements we made to JSON, including some radical performance improvements. Vince showed something that he may show here as well as it comes up is go to list of records script step. You can do some very interesting things. We talked about the ability, and these are developer quality of life type enhancements, the ability to add or remove grouped objects on a FileMaker layout without having to blow up the entire group and reconstitute it, and a new get text from PDF calculation function that certainly can be leveraged by AI, but does not require AI to be able to point that at a container build with a PDF in it. We covered the Mac OS refresh of FileMaker Pro, and went over some of that, including the new table view. We talked about continued enhancements that we have been making to Let's Encrypt, making it a lot easier to get that set up and to auto renew. WebDirect, we covered now that it has contextual menus. You can right-click on objects in WebDirect and have those show the contextual menu. There's a new affordance in the server admin console to much more easily set up custom home pages for WebDirect customers. And one of the sleepers is a warning now if a WebDirect user hits the back button. Rather than just being out of their session and losing their data, it says, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And then a few things with Go. We covered keyboard navigation, hover support for pencil, or if you're using FileMaker Go in Vision Pro, that comes in handy. And the fact that FileMaker Pro files or FileMaker files are now stored in the apps file within FileMaker Go. And then a couple of odds and ends that we picked up because there's so much going on of just things we wanted people to be aware of. And then finally, talking about this is all coming to FileMaker Cloud mid to late August in support the vast majority of the 125 things that we did and some additional enhancements there as well. So that's my recap. Over to you, Vince and/or Clay.
Yeah, I mean, that covers a lot of ground. I think a lot of people are really excited about the AI features and the JSON speed improvements with the improvements there. And Clay's going to get into that as well. But I want to convince you today that you're going to have a third item on your list of like really favorite features, and that's the two features that I'm going to show. One of them is a function. It's called get record IDs from found set, and then the other one is a script step. They work kind of in tandem. Go to list of records, and so I mean, AI definitely, don't get me wrong, is incredible. And then we're on this journey to AIify the platform, et cetera, and that's happening in a big way. And the JSON speed improvements that again Hans has been testing, and he's got some incredible feedback about it, et cetera. Really excited about those. But I'm excited about the implications and use cases of the two features I'm going to show. So that's it for me, Rick.
Anything for you, Clay?
I think I was just drug in to talk about JSON performance improvements that I went in. The biggest thing though is that if you really, if you want to listen to me going on like 25 minutes about it, is to download the Engage under the hood presentation that I did earlier this year. All that information is still valid, and I may show one slide today of just the key things of what you should and should not do. So
yeah, this is a truly huge release, and about the time you get fixated on one thing, you realize there was a bunch of other stuff, a bunch of fixes. It's really Rick Kalman, you were saying it's one of the biggest releases since what, FileMaker 7? Is that what you said?
Yeah, in my mind. I mean, think about this. This is the final of 9 events to roll this thing out. 4 community lives, and then the initial launch day, FM Live TV, and then each subsequent live event. So it took us 9 hours to roll this out, and we still scratched the surface. So it's a big one.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Margaret, you have questions you want to kind of start throwing them at Vince?
Yeah. Dad, do we want to do like Vince's presentation real fast of the demo, and then we can get into the questions related to that?
Sure, Vince, if you're ready for that, you can show your screen and we can do that.
All right. So I have here a very simple file. And, the schema is, let's see here. It's got a demo table and a blank table with one field in it. Demo table is basically ID, name, teacher, and grade. And so that's what we're looking at, a list of students. And the use case is, I happen to be a teacher for 6th grade, and these are my students. Don't worry about repeating the teacher name here. Obviously, if it was a system that would be a relational system, you would have the teacher and then the list of students, etc. So these are my students. And so, for example, I have a situation where I'm going to clear my selection. So I have 0. If you look at the bottom here, move my window up a little bit. I have 0 of 24 records selected. Now, FileMaker's always had this ability to have display 141 records, display all my records, or I want to find a subset of records and work with the subset of records. But what this technique allows us to do now is basically to select and then multi-select. Well, multi-select we've always had the ability to do. Okay, So what's cool about this technique is that it gives us access to the list of record IDs quickly and easily. So you can build this list of IDs by what I just showed here, and this I'll post the link to the blog post right after I present here, and so you can interface this as it would be like in any other application. So, for example, in the Finder, and when you're looking at a list of files, and you shift select to select a group of files, or in Excel when you shift select or command select different rows. Now FileMaker has this way of doing this affordance, and now I can have a use case where the students that I have in my selected view out of my found set, I can act on those students. I can send those record IDs to the server, and then the server will run a script to basically, put those IDs either in a variable and a global, and then just, tell it what layout I want to see those IDs from, and then it'll display that layout with those record IDs. And it's incredibly fast, and it's efficient because you don't need a relationship. You don't even need a global field. You don't need another table occurrence for the relationship. You just need to go to that table and say, here's the IDs. And that's what go to list of records does. But another side benefit is that when you specify go to list of records, go to records. Okay, so I was get record IDs from found set. Sorry. When you use this function, there's a parameter that you need to pass. It's a number, and there's 5 different types. So if you put in 0, it'll get you all the IDs as a carriage return list. If you put in 1, it'll get you a JSON array of the numbers instead of a carriage return list. If you put in 2, you'll get a JSON number array. If you put in 3, you'll get a range array. A range. Yeah. So this is where, if you've ever used a snapshot link, you've seen these things before, right? So like if you're looking at consecutive records, like if you're looking at 1,000 records, and you're looking at this, all those records except maybe 1 or 2, what you'll end up with is 1 to 800. That represents all those records in that group. So it's very, very, very efficient, right? And then the last one, the 4th one, so there's 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's 5 of them. And now you're getting the JSON, and I'm not sure if I'm saying this correctly, the JSON number range array. So there's different types, and all of these are supported when you pass these parameters to the script step. The script step will take any of these different types, and it will reconstitute the list of records that you're looking at. So again, the use case here is you have a better user experience for the teacher to basically shift select whatever or command select the students that are going on the field trip, send those record IDs to the server, find them with very, very little overhead, and perform the task of whatever, sending an approval letter or whatnot. But you can think of all kinds of situations where this could be applied.
Yes.
And so that's pretty much it. I could go on a little bit longer because I've been delving into this a little bit deeper, but I'll stop there for now.
No, it's a super cool feature because I can already think of a couple cases where I had to go through the really long way of coding multi-select multiple times in my database recently. So
yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. Rick Kalman, would you classify this as a quality of life improvement? Because it really seems like it kind of is. Because we could do this before, but it was a giant pain in the ass. Now it's simple. Right.
Yeah, I would say that the majority of the things we did in the FileMaker platform in 2025 are quality of life, right? Either a lot of the things that are just a pain to deal with, like the grouping and ungrouping and all that, or the back button in the browser, but as well as some the security enhancements with Let's Encrypt. That's also a quality of life, because to manage it is so much more straightforward now. So it's just chock full of those things. And those ones we get directly from the community, from the ideas on the page, from ETS, and directly to us. So yeah, we've really tried to focus on that, so we can prove that that we still love the platform that you still love, and that's FileMaker, and it is definitely being invested in.
So let me reemphasize what he has said. Claris is listening. There was a reshuffling of the management team over, say, about 6 months ago, and it continues. And the team is focused on the developers' needs and the developers' interests, and not just going, yeah, but actually delivering on what we need in a measurable way. It's encouraging to me as a guy who's been around for 35 years with FileMaker to see that, right? So
Yes. As a side note, Vince, we have some questions for you. We have people, of course, immediately slavering for the sample file. Where can they find it?
I posted it in the comments. I don't know if you see it. But,
Oh, yeah, I will grab that. Yes, I will grab that and I will share it around for people.
Someone put it up in Discord already, I believe, the multiple selector FileMaker example file.
Okay, yeah. Again, just to be clear, we've had the ability to do multi-select before, but what's cool about this is the way I used the quote from Steve, who helped me put together the example file. I have long wished for a highly efficient mechanism for representing and reproducing any arbitrary set of records. It's a great way to summarize it, but it's very cool. And again, you can do this on the found set, right? So you can grab the record IDs from the found set, but you can also, a la carte, pick off 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 of the records in the found set. So again, it's another kind of user experience addition that we can add to our solutions. So think of it even in a use case where I might have an invoice and some products on the invoice. I might say, hey, out of the 10 products on this invoice, I'm going to give you a discount on these 5, and you multi-select the 5 in the portal, and then you say apply discount. And so you can do that visually and efficiently in your scripting.
I have a quick comment. A lot of this quality of life stuff, I mentioned this, I guess, this morning, but a lot of this stuff is also driven by the AI work that we were doing. You can kind of think of training AI as like teaching someone just new to FileMaker. So we're having to make changes. It wanted to work with record sets, so we added things to make it work better with record sets. It's pushing a lot of JSON back and forth, so we're improving JSON performance. So some of the other functions have been added, like table comments and stuff like that. So it's not only our developers aren't the only people requesting these quality of life. It's also the people doing the AI work too. So it's kind of handling two different sets of people to help
get double the return. I'm going to tackle, I think, we had a question about the sample file specifically, which is if you use UID records with record ID, is it faster? So if you use, go ahead.
Let me see if I can. Let me just find some metrics that I did on this. Let me see if I can find it real quick, because I didn't post that. But let me see.
Internally inside FileMaker, we're moving around lists like this, though it's not actually a textual representation. It's a bitmap. It's like we use 1 bit represents each record. So it's very close to what FileMaker does to move stuff back and forth, because we don't, even though you may have primary keys, we're going through and doing relationships and stuff like that. When we're just fetching records from a table and going back and forth, we're basically using these IDs, though it is going to be a little bit slower than what we're doing internally because we have low-level bitmaps, but it's closer.
Yeah, so if you're doing this the first time on a set of related records, the total time to get those just to get the IDs, so to get record IDs from bound set sort of thing, but on a related set of data, this is using get IDs using the list function, and this is using get IDs using an unstored calc. So there you see already an improvement in performance. But where it gets interesting is, okay, I'm getting the record IDs using the list function, but I've already seen those records, so I just need the IDs to get them over quickly. And you'll see that there's a huge speed improvement by not using the list function, but using an unstored calc that gets you the record ID through a relationship. I don't know, Clay, if you want to say more about that, but there is already some speed improvements there that you could benefit from. And it's got me thinking about, hey, maybe I could save myself a relationship. I could save myself a table occurrence if I don't need it, just for showing that data. If I need to go there, I have the IDs, and I could really reconstitute and view the related records quickly. So there's some definitely efficiencies to be gained there.
And the key thing with the record IDs, you have to remember that this is like instantiation specific ID. So as long as you're running and you're using the IDs in your solution for that moment, it doesn't work well for long-term stuff. Like if you have a table and then you import the table elsewhere, the rec IDs change for each record. So if you need a persistent primary key, you still need to do it, with a new field, using your UUID and stuff like that. So there's a difference when you're dealing with ranges of records, whether it's something that needs to be persistent between, the data may be moved from one table to another table, or and different schemes like that, or stuff that where you're dealing with the data basically live, and it's going to be in the same like launch cycle. Even when you're using ESS, the record IDs can change between each time you connect to the SQL database. The IDs aren't necessarily the same each time you launch the FileMaker. So it is faster, but it's not. Depending on your purposes, it may not be a number that you want to store for long term.
We have some people also getting excited about object grouping. So one of the questions they have about object grouping is, does the group need to be named first? We had a couple people ask this. So before you can add a new one? Cool.
No, it does not need to be named first. Excellent.
So you can have any, which is great because I do not name my groups. That would be a pain to go back and fix. Let's do text recognition.
Margaret, just to be clear, you can add and remove from the group, so you have both options. So,
which is awesome. That was one of the very first features I know. So I was like, I'm a very intermediate level developer, so I get excited over the really small things, such as the nature of my life. So when I saw that you could do that for groups, I was really excited because I was creating a PDF recently and I was fighting with groups endlessly. It was a real pain in the butt. So having that add and remove is great. We got questions on text recognition and PDF handling. What gets returned if the container holds a non-PDF file?
I believe it's a question mark you get, I believe. It's kind of like the generic error saying that this wasn't a PDF, we couldn't process it. Because we're using a PDF library that is actually looking at the PDF. It's not doing OCR. It's just going through the actual Adobe PostScript, pulling the actual text representations out.
Yes, and then another question: is there not any internal way to actually OCR text from image PDFs? Example from physically scanned paper. And related, does get text PDF also include JPEGs?
That's the get live text function on the Mac side of the house or the iOS side of the house, but I do not believe there's a Windows equivalent. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's only, I think, iOS and Mac OS that the get live text calc function works on.
Yeah, if you want that, I'm going to be paging Christian Schmidt with the Monkey Bread plugin. Report to the bridge immediately.
He's here. He just said, if not built in, there may be some plugins available. Get live text only gets the first page.
But we feed it off to the Mac OS as whatever the Mac OS does. So.
So whatever the standards for that are. And then last question about text recognition in PDF is, my tests of get text from PDF showed results identical to get live text. Should I be seeing anything different?
PDFs can be, get live text, it'll probably be more in order, but PDFs can be generated in so many different ways. Sometimes you'll see text way out of order when you get, when you pull the text out of PDFs, just because of how it's storing chunks, and not even words may not even be together. So so you may see differences, but if it's all laid out, and it depends on what generated the PDF. There isn't one way to generate PDF text representations of data. So ideally it'd be the same, but I wouldn't ever guarantee it.
Oh, we got another PDF question that snuck in. Is getting text from PDF deterministic? Does it give the same results when applied repeatedly on the same PDF?
Well, yeah, if it's the actual same PDF, it should be deterministic. But if you use a different tool to generate the same PDF, it may not be the same PostScript code, and maybe in a different order. But I'm talking about the things that are generating PDFs. It can generate a whole bunch of different versions of it.
Cool. Let's do, where was it? There we go. Scripting and functions. Does it also, okay, this is a floating it. This is from the earlier sessions. I don't actually quite know what this is referring to. Oh, I think this is referring to JSON. Okay, in that case, we're going to just go ahead and do the JSON questions first and then do this one. Sorry. JSON parsing and caching. Is the parsed JSON cleared when the script ends?
No. So the old style parsing that was before this version was it was saved with the thread that was running. So it would hang around even after the app quit. So I mean, not after the app quit. I mean, if you close the file and then reopen the file, if the text was the same, it would use what was cached. That cache still exists and is still using there, but the new cache is the binary data, the binary representation of the JSON is hooked into the actual contents of the variable. So the lifetime is based on how long the variable is around. So the dollar variables, the dollar variables, the variables inside the calcs, the length of times that our variables are being passed from script to script. So all those lifetimes are basically on the object that the binary data was added to. So it isn't really, so like if you put in a dollar variable, then yeah, it'll go away when the script completes because all the dollar variables go away at that point. But the dollar ones would hang on to it for the entire lifetime of that file being open.
And then does this last through the ISERS session? I assume the JSON cache? Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. I was like, what are they saying? There was typos. Does the cache last through the user session?
As long as those variables are still there, as long as you can see the variable in the data viewer, it's still cached. If the variable goes away for some reason, it's gone.
If you pass a parsed JSON variable as a script parameter / result, is it passed as text or parsed JSON?
Well, it's passed as a DB data, so you really have to go to my session just to see how it's actually working. But effectively, the parsed JSON is going through, and sometimes it'll be text, sometimes not. It's a lot more complex, but yeah. Now the parameter is being passed internally. Now, I guess one thing I should say is that parameter being sent to perform script on server, that parameter only goes as text. The binary representation won't necessarily go across because the server may be using a different binary representation than the client is.
Interesting. Okay. Can you unparse JSON, and then would there be any reason to?
Well, when we parse the JSON and store the binary representation, sometimes there's text associated with it and sometimes not. But if you have a variable where it just has the binary version and then you use that variable to display it, like on the layout or in the data viewer, it will turn the binary back. I guess that's what you're talking about, unparsing. It will turn the binary representation back into text.
Something that we've talked about internally, is the performance benefit a passive one so that someone just gets the benefit just because they're on this release, or do they actually have to make changes to their code to benefit from faster processing?
You'll get a lot of benefits just passively, and okay. You don't have to do it. But if you really want to improve stuff, here, let me bring my slide up that I said I may display. I think someone posted it in Discord already, but the top thing, the demo bad text is showing the worst way to do stuff where you're dealing between back and forth. Before this version of FileMaker, you don't want to like jump back and forth to use the thread cache. If you wanted the thread cache to help, you try to do everything with JSON 1 and do all your work reading stuff and pulling chunks of it out. But now with the current version, if you remember, I was saying that it's only variables that are storing the binary data. If you're pulling stuff from fields don't get the binary data stored along with it, because the file format doesn't have space for this binary representation, and the binary representation may change between different releases of FileMaker too. So we never store that. So the best practice now, which you don't have to do, I mean, you'll get improvements even without it, but is to call JSON parse on like your JSON that you got from a field, or that you got from a insert from URL, or from some other mechanism where you got the textual representation, and then store it into a variable. Then at that point, every time you use either the JSON 1 or the JSON 2, it's always going to be dealing with the binary representation of it, pulling things out. And also, once the data comes out of these JSON get elements at the bottom of the slide, the $name 1, 2, state 1, and state 2 will all actually just have binary representation stored in those variables. They won't even have the text version stored until the text is required for some reason, like you're doing a text function on it, or displaying it on the layout or in a variable. And yeah, I think that's it. Yep.
Speaking of variables, unless you have a follow-up to that, Vince.
Oh, no, that really helps, clarify the question I had, but it's also helpful to understand the way it works and how long it sticks around, etc.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, thank you.
Are all variables always kept in RAM? When I try to put too much data into variables, it'll crash FM or start swapping, or is FM going to handle that itself somehow?
No, variables are kept in RAM, so you don't want to go crazy with variables, but this has always been true. This is not anything new to this version of FileMaker.
I have a question. What's going crazy with a variable in like quantitative numbers?
Well, one thing is that you only have a certain amount of physical RAM in your computer, so you don't want the contents of all your variables to be greater than your RAM. Now, if you're not on iOS, if you're on the Mac OS or Windows, then you get into paging. So then how much virtual memory do you have available? So your amount of RAM that's available on iOS devices is quite a bit less, because they don't have virtual storage. That they don't increase the amount of RAM available based on how much disk space or how much storage space you have. You're limited to the actual amount of RAM that's on that device. So there is limits to the amount of variables you can have on iOS is higher than the other Pro products.
Good one. Yeah, I've never blown up the variables like that, so I'm just wondering about what that looks like.
For what it's worth, it was Hansa asking that question, so I have no doubt that he
figured.
found a way to blow
If there was a guy who would blow up a variable, that would be him. Yeah. I've never done it, so I mean, if you have a gig of text in a variable, that is a lot, and I'm sure he went way beyond that. So,
we do love you, Hansa.
Well, only on Tuesdays after 3 o'clock.
So we got a quick value list question. Why can't we get folders for value lists?
Well, we can probably add that, but I think we need to learn from the custom functions with all the complaints that we got that you can't sort. So you probably, if we just did what we did for custom functions, we'd probably get the same complaint. So, but let us get the custom functions right first before we start applying it to all these other places.
But duly noted.
Yes.
Yes, a request for that. Will the Windows UI be getting updated? This is about user interface stuff and operating system stuff.
Our plan is to eventually get back to the Windows side. I guess during the development, so when we were doing both platforms exactly at the same time for doing UI updates, if we did a bunch of UI updates and released it both for Windows and Mac on ETS programs or early releases, we'd get feedback and want to have to change things. Then we'd have to change it in both each time. So we're kind of doing a different tact on it now, is that we're going to bring all the changes and get everyone's complaints and things resolved before we go through and re-implement it on a different platform, because the implementations are actually pretty drastically different between the two. The Draco change and calc functions and script steps, those we implement once and everything gets it at the same time. But when you're doing UI stuff, especially with the Chrome and with the Windows and the icons and all that stuff, it takes a lot more work to do both at the same time. And we're just trying to cut down the amount of time for doing work multiple times, and then we don't want to redo the work multiple times. We'd like to at least do the work multiple times on one platform, and then once we know what we want, then do it on the other one.
Yeah, we went Mac OS first because it benefits us from our relationship with Apple as we're pushing into education as well. So it had sort of a dual purpose.
There you go. Another Windows question. Is there a plan for native ARM support on Windows going forward?
We'll get around to it. The Windows code base is a bit older, and we don't have it compiling on the latest versions of Visual Studio from Microsoft. And to do the ARM support, we need to upgrade to the current one. And not only do we have to upgrade our code, we have to upgrade all the third-party code that is being compiled too. So we're talking about 4 million lines of code or something like that that we have to get working under a new compiler. Because they're getting more strict, and there's a few APIs that they've removed, so we have to work around other issues. But the first thing is just to get the compiler to compile what we have. But we are looking, we will be looking at that.
As a little bit of color to this, for those of you who didn't understand what Clay said, Claris has their own code that makes the FileMaker Pro product, but like for charting and for PDF and for various other little sub-assemblies within the product, they went out and licensed someone else's code. Did a big bulk license, we'll insert it in our program, and that way we don't have to do it and maintain it. But what he's saying is that Claris has to update their code and then go to all the people like the PDF generator, right? That's a license, same sort of thing. So all that has to be addressed.
There you go. And then my last feature request of this set, can we get transparent card windows, perhaps with rounded corners?
Is that from Nick? Is that from Nick?
Who asked?
I don't know the name. Like it's a system this morning. I don't have the collection of names of people who asked the question, but I don't think it's from Nick Hunter. So I don't think it was. I would have noticed if that had been the case.
I mean, Apple is pushing, a different UI, so we'll be looking at it. I know there's a ticket already in Jira about it.
Yes. I will say for the rounded corners at the moment, I think you can actually go use the MVS plugin for that. So if you are in desperate need of rounded corners right this second, FileMaker has a great array of plugins for you. So FileMaker Go. Any developments on taking a photo in Go and then having the ability to draw on it? Oh, it's another feature request. They want to draw on photos. Can we not do that already?
I think Todd Geis had made something back in the day that you could do that.
He discontinued that though. He pulled that. Yeah. So it's been a third-party capability. Vince, is there a current third-party product that does this? I mean,
not that I'm aware of, no. But,
yeah, when I was in Japan, I saw a few things that were done as well, but I think they were leveraging Todd's things. And, yeah.
Yeah, so Todd was doing it through the web, JavaScript through the web viewer, and that historically, in my experience, is always a little more fragile in terms of code changing and things like that. And Todd would have to support it. I think having that feature as a fundamental in Go is kind of an important thing. From my limited, I mean, a lot of people want to be able to edit or draw on top of photos. Take a picture of Rick Kalman, say add hair here over the top, and then save it. And you keep the original and save the new one into another container or something. Yeah. So.
Yeah, we've certainly had that request over the years, so it's well known to us. So if you want it, just keep pushing forward through all the vehicles on the community and in the ideas thing, and those help. They add up.
Oh, with the AI stuff, maybe let's just send the picture off saying add hair to this person or something like that.
Yeah. True that.
Yeah. One thing that I don't think we mentioned, but expanded the maximum length for insert text script step now goes to 250 million characters. And that's, I think, related to some AI enhancement. Yeah, I know. You're muted, but yeah, we can see the reaction.
Why? That's why, right? Is that a Hansa thing again?
Clay, maybe, is that related also AI, like increasing that limit for the insert text?
No, that's been an older question around before, but I guess the people doing AI had larger, RAG or whatever different hints and all the stuff that they need to feed down, and they were a lot larger than what the previous dialogue could support.
Yeah, kind of related. Does inserting so much text into a field still make the UI hang for a couple minutes? Is that a bug that's been fixed?
Well, I mean, that's like you're going to insert like a gig of text into a field.
It takes some
It's
time.
just that the amount, like if you have a slow connection, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're just going to take the hit to,
Yeah.
read that record or update that record. And so I think it's still the same issue,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
You're bumping up against physics.
yeah, well, and the other thing is also how the
Yeah.
text is formatted. I mean, if they're short lines with carriage returns and you have a gig of that, that's going to be faster than if you have a gig of text with no carriage returns. Because the thing is, when we display it inside FileMaker, we need to find out how many lines there are. And if we have to scan everything and measure the text on each one to see where the line wraps are occurring, that a lot of the time for text like that, that's why it's taking so long to display inside FileMaker, is because we're trying to figure out how to lay it out in the layout. If you have a bunch of short lines that are in the text, we don't have to do that because there's carriage returns there which we can stop processing and stuff like that. So that's actually faster than unformatted text.
We've got an AI related question real fast. I'm going to snag. My colleague asked me when using the new generate response from model script step and enabling the perform JavaScript in web viewer option, I'm finding that nothing is being returned to the message history. So subsequent calls have no history to draw from in this break. Any ideas on how to fix this?
We don't have the AI people here.
Yeah, it just occurred to me that I asked that question. I'm like, I don't think we've got Ronnie or anyone else here, right? We have a huge set of people. So I'll put a pin in that. You know what? We have Claris is AI engineering coming on. I'm going to put a pin in that. And that'll question get addressed.
Wasn't that an option in the configuration dialog of the script that they demoed that it will go away unless you select that option, and then that's where you can have the sort of streaming chat. So it seems to be
the
somewhere.
stream, I believe I saw something mentioned, and I don't know, not totally sure, but if you have the stream option on, then the field has to be on the layout so you can see the stream, whatever. But no, I don't remember about the history.
Yes, I'll put a pin in that for the AI
Yeah.
engineers. So to harass them with that one. We have some SSL questions, Jacob.
Excellent.
The renewal of Let's Encrypt SSL certificates is done automatically, but requires a restarting FileMaker server. Is it possible to know the exact day and time when this automatic restart of FM server will occur? Can it be configured?
It does not automatically restart FileMaker server. Yes, you can know exactly when it's going to happen because when you first set up, like we did on the demo on Friday, go watch the video. We did I think substantially all of the variants of getting that set up. When you first acquire the SSL, there's an option for automatic renewal, a little slider on the dialog. If you turn that on, it will build for you a scheduled script in FileMaker server that does the renewal itself. That's every 60 days by default. You can change that number of days, but it's every 60 days by default. And you can go check the scheduled time, if you will, for when that script will run. But if you come back in 61 days, you'll probably be safe.
And then kind of a general question, I think this is probably more for you, Mr. Kalman, which is, are there any plans to support other Acme endpoints?
That's actually a Clay question because I remember you answered it in the last session. And
oh, he did. Yeah.
Potential, and I guess they're shortening their lives. Some coming up.
Yeah, I mean, Let's Encrypt was free and pretty simple, and people can understand that pretty easily. The Acme, there's more complexity of getting things configured and all the stuff that you have to hook up. So we may get to that. Especially as people have been noticing that the lifetime of certificates is getting shorter and shorter from all these companies. So, and we are working with our the OmniWire, but we're talking about third-party libraries that we license and stuff like that. The low-level networking that's going on is we have a contract with them to be able to update certificates without having to reboot their stack of the network stack. There's still issues about trying to change a certificate in a web server itself. Some of them behave differently when you plug in the new certificate. But we are trying to make it so that you don't necessarily have to do a complete reboot when changes occur like that. But it's not there yet.
I will tack on a comment that is wildly supportive of a not requiring FileMaker server to reboot to load an SSL. I think that's the only thing that remains, other than some weird corner edge type problems that you might run into, but just normal operational issues where you fully have to restart it. It would be excellent to remove that. So yeah, 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10 in the future.
Yes, my other SSL question, which I'm not going to ask, because basically just fussing about, I don't like restarting my server, which understandable to an extent. Bug feature request. Will updating, this is about some layout behavior. Will updating the schema still cause sliders and tabs to reset to the default panel?
Yes. Actually, when the schema changes, the notifications sent out to all clients saying that you can't trust anything that's on your screen at this point because relationships may have changed. Your port, you may need to refresh, repull the relationships. So when that type of notification goes out, yeah, things like scroll position, all that stuff gets reset because we don't know, the amount of records you can see may change. And I guess I saw a reply to that comment earlier saying, well, you shouldn't be doing live changes on your production environments. We need to push people more into the whole, dev and then production to do your changes there. Because doing live changes is, sometimes you have to do it. I mean, if there's an emergency and you have to change something immediately, please go ahead. But if you're doing regular development, I really wouldn't advise people to do it on your production system.
Yes, or otherwise you'll delete things like portals and have to turn around and tell your father you totally deleted a portal out of a customer database and it's not coming back.
Well, luckily your father's not here anymore.
Did he vanish?
He vanished?
I'm tossing shade at him and he's not even here. Man, that's funny.
Maybe he's fighting a fire.
Oh, man. Let's see. We've got some WebDirect questions. So in WebDirect, are context menus configurable?
Don't believe so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, we just added that in there. We really would like to do a complete redesign of how custom menus are being handled right now, because that is pretty messy how things are done. And internally, the code isn't that great, but that may be a file format change when we get around to that. But we know, well, we have a whole long list of things that we want to do with the file format change. And the list the list is getting pretty good size now at this point. So I don't know when we'll ever pull that trigger and say that, okay, we finally want to stop doing byte swapping because we don't have to support, the PowerPC chip anymore and stuff like that. So, and that's not a big enough reason to do a file format change, but there are other features and changing how security is done and accounts are handled and very low level things, and there's some talk about changing how we do encryption and stuff like that all requires basically a file format change to do. But we do have separate wiki pages internally where we're doing that, and we look at it ever so often saying, okay, are we up to the point where we want to do it or need to do it? And we haven't gotten to that point yet.
This keeps popping up, and I got it again. Probably related to the studio's question from yesterday. What about the future of WebDirect in comparison to Claris Studio? And related, is WebDirect going to vanish so Claris Studio can replace it?
Right now, they're two very different animals, right? So they're complementary in a way. You think about, WebDirect, you obviously don't build like you do in Studio, but with WebDirect, you're building in FileMaker Pro, and it just basically is a rich web app running in a browser. It's incredible, right? But it has limitations as well. Completely different tech stack, different everything for Studio. So anything else, Clay, you would say about that?
I mean, FileMaker is all based about context. I mean, that's, Todd Geist has, his context podcast, and that's so important with how the FileMaker running model is done. Studio tries not to be context-based. It tries to be completely, modern with the REST environment. Everything is stateless, a completely stateless environment. So there's really no way we'd be able to do what WebDirect does with a stateless environment, because everything is based on state. You'd have to rewrite all your scripts. You'd have to rewrite, everything would have to change. There's no way that it can do exactly everything that WebDirect does. So I see it being two different ways to view data that's inside FileMaker. And that's what we're doing with, the data everywhere, as we're calling it, is that, okay, you can share the data between the two, but your scripts and how you manipulate your data is going to be different, because it's a very different mechanism on the web. When you're doing stuff, you want to be able to, as you're moving along in your cell phone, you're changing, and you have to maybe change servers, and it's a very different environment when you need to deal with a very large number of users. You can't remember the state of every possible user if you're dealing with, tens of thousands of people trying to access it.
Yes. And then popping off to a different topic, because we're bouncing around. Do the command line tools now fully load plugins, just like in FMSE? Can a plugin figure out whether it's loaded in FMSE or a command line tool?
Yes, all the command line tools can load plugins now. So when you're doing data migrations or using the update tool, and calcs need to be recalculated, they'll be able to load the calcs, be able to load the plugin extensions that you have to the calc engine to run them. And also the reports coming from save as XML will now see the names of the functions. So that's all there. Now, some plugins may need to be updated, because we have a new code that when the plugin gets loaded in one of these command line tools, saying that, okay, you're running a command line environment. And before, plugins would only have to look at, am I running in Pro or am I running on server? And it depends the type of check that they did. So they may be confused, thinking, I'm running on Pro, when it's actually a command line tool, and they can't do additions. There's no window environment to run under and stuff like that. So check with your plugin vendor. The bigger plugin vendors, or the more common ones, have all updated their stuff, and they all know about this. But if you have some old plugin that was written by somebody that isn't around anymore, it may or may not work in the command line tool.
You like some of those Ozium plugins back in the day from Waves in Motion? Got to be some of those running still.
Oh yeah, somewhere.
You don't have 25-year support for your old plugins, do you, Vince?
Nope.
What? I can't believe it. How dare you not support 25 years worth of plugin development? Actually, Vince, we got some Inspector Pro questions for you. Where are they? Does Vince have a version of Inspector Pro for prior FM versions? Ha! Hilariously related to the 25 years adventure. How far can you go back?
Yeah. Well, Inspector 7 would go from I guess FileMaker version 12 to 19, and then 8 was when we switched over to use save a copy as XML, which is, in a sense, call it XML 2.0 or DDR 2.0, and that was only supporting, I wouldn't say supporting. I would say it would work more detailed if it was using FileMaker 21.0. There was a switch in 21.1 that we didn't have enough time to switch to. And then with this latest release, there's a lot of XML work that's been done that we didn't mention, but the latest version of Inspector 9, which is now a freely available tool, is going to work only with FileMaker 2025 and hopefully greater.
And then we're going to bounce back to JSON, because like I said, people are ping-ponging around at the moment, which is fine. Does the insert from URL automatically parse the JSON when using a variable for the results, or do I need to parse it manually?
No, you'll want to run JSON parse on it, because what you get back from insert from URL may or may not be JSON. It actually may be JSON packed in something else that you have to unpack. So just putting text into a variable will never parse it automatically. If the text comes from any function starting with the word JSON on it, that will have created the binary representation. So that's the key thing to check. So whether and then also there's another function called JSON info, JSON get info, or something like that you can run on a variable that will tell you whether it has it's been parsed or not. So if you're wondering whether it does or not, you can test it yourself.
Naming things is always an interesting challenge. It's interesting that you called it JSON parsed and not, I don't know, it's hard to come up with it.
I don't know how many different names it's gone through. I mean, it's the hardest problem at Claris is just naming things. So.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times all the LLM functions change names like 3 or 4 times too. So that's.
Well, we start internally just referring it to it, nonchalant, and then it becomes almost official until ID gets a hold of it and says, no, that's not going to be its name. And so you don't even know to the end what we're going to call it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. JSON parse state. Okay. I see in Discord. The new name is JSON parse state. It used to be called JSON info. So yeah.
Oh, because that's what JavaScript calls it, or Okay. Interesting. Okay.
I mean, I don't even use table occurrences. I still call them table aliases. So that's going way back from the 7.0 time frame. So.
Oh, that's great. So clearly, since Rick and Claire are both here, you're totally going to tell us when the next 2025 releases, right? Joking. But I did have someone saying, like, hey, can you hint on when the next bug or fix is going to be for 2025?
If you looked at us over the previous years, whenever the new version of the Mac OS comes out and becomes released, we usually have a release soon after that, because the parent company is always making changes that we probably have to tweak things to meet their requirements, especially with Go. So I can pretty much guarantee there'll be a release of FileMaker right around the same time that the final version of the Mac OS Tahoe was released.
And then what typically also happens is between now and that time frame, if we find anything now this is out in the wild that we need to address sooner than that, there may be a VREV that comes prior to that, just depending upon what it is, and if it can wait or not. So that's always right now. There's nothing, but that could change.
Technically, we've hit 2 p.m. I don't want to keep you. I know a lot of you have all been working like dogs, so I don't want to keep you over time. But thank you all of you for coming. Thank you for answering all the questions. Thank you, people, for coming and asking questions. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
And I guess I'll be back tomorrow. I guess I'll be back tomorrow at the same time.
Yes, no, it's not. We kidnapped you for 3 days straight, Clay. I'm very sorry.
That's why you don't have value lists and folders, because Clay's on this show 3 days in a row.
We're taking up all of his time. We're very sorry, everybody. Yeah. Seriously, everyone, please come back. Claris Engineering will be on for the next 3 days. It'll be really awesome. Tomorrow we have Lucy Chen, which is the VP of Claris Engineering, Wade Ju, which is the Claris FMS architect, and of course Clay Maeckel on for tomorrow. And then we'll also be getting into the AI engineers with Thursday and Friday, which will be really fun. Y'all have a lovely day. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Is it going to work this time?
Thank you.